those nerves can be rebuilt. And here was the key. Well, this was intriguing because we had found that it worked on the entire motor system. A lady who had hiccups and had gone on for weeks, and she was afraid she was going to rupture some veins or arteries. She was doing it so hard. On an emergency going in on another case, she asked me between hiccuping if I'd stop and check her first. And out of my bag, I pulled a bottle of B&B tincture, and I put a few drops on her tongue. And she said, "Oh!" I said, "What happened?" She said, "I could feel it from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. Oh, all through my body. And the hiccups are gone." And they didn't return. We have seen these case after case after case. Well, this gave us the key. Why is multiple sclerosis? Why is muscular dystrophy? Why is polio? Why is a stroke? Why is there inactivity? We found why there was inactivity, the motor nerve. And we learned how to rebuild it. This is great. Then we learned the spinal cord, what to do going on down. We also found that where there was impingement and the stoppage was bad, that we would use the bone, flesh, and cartilage formula and bring it back into line again. We'll go into that more. But here was the case for epilepsy or any of the rest of the incurables. The motor nerve had to be worked on. We did it. But we find out that there are a few other things that has to be done too. Whenever we have a stroke patient, polio, we have multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, we find that we have a case wherein they're not assimilating and they're suffering malnutrition. They're starved, they're hungry. So we have to do a few things there. But before that, we go back to the initial. And what is the initial? Our basic. Every patient that we have goes on distilled water. Every patient that we have has to follow through with cleaning out that bowel, because there is 90% of all disease. So here are some of the things that we do with the incurable. We start them off with juice. Juice is a natural food that doesn't take a lot of digestive processing. It is actually the bloodstream of the fruit or vegetable going into the body, and it can be assimilated quite quickly. Yes?
I've heard the criticism that juice is not a whole food. It's taken out of from the pulp and everything. You comment on that?
Yes, it is a whole food. For instance, we have in our analysis proof that you do have the whole food as far as the specific food itself is concerned. Now, I'm not saying it is a whole food covering everything. That's why you're going to see my changes in here.
Why was the valerian put in there? Just to relax the body? You didn't mention why the valerian.
Blue cohosh, black cohosh, blue vervain. Blue vervain, not valerian.
Oh, I thought you said valerian.
I made a mistake if I said valerian. Blue vervain.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the reason. Here we find one of the most pacifying juices there is, and one of the easiest juices to digest is the carrot juice. Johanna Brandt started with the grape. Well, we had cases before we knew anything about the program as a whole, where our cancer patients were so severe that we put them on the Johanna Brandt grape cure. And they had nothing but grapes, grape juice, and raisins. And we've had them on there for 9 months. They were skeletons when we finished with them, when the toxic poison was all out. But then they started to build back, and they built back to perfect shape. In this particular case, let me just give you an example. We're taking the toxic poisons out. The toxic poisons weigh and they come to a new low. We had a case where this lady was told that she had 90 days maximum. She had parts of her body removed. And so when she came to us, we gave her a bit of advice, and that was, if you're brave enough to go on our program, fine. This was years ago when we didn't have an easier one. And she said, I'll go. So I said, over a period of time, you're going to get thinner and thinner. And your folks will say, get away from that man. He's killing you. And I said, that's up to you. You've got to make your own decisions. But when you get to a new low, and all the toxic waste is out of your body, that's the key when the last of the final toxic waste will leave. And from the bowel, from the vagina, and from the ureteric tract, urinary, you will drop toxic waste that will be so hot, it'll be like red hot pokers. Pokers. Yeah, those peppers are hot, but I don't think they're as hot as a red hot poker. But when they come, I said, praise the Lord, because that's waste coming out. And just thank the Lord for it, because this is the key we want. And then when you've gone down to your skinniest point, and the toxic waste is out, now you'll start putting on weight. And on the same diet, grapes, grape juice, and raisins, you'll start shaping back up again. Well, this happened. And her folks said, get away from him. He's killing you. And she said, oh, I was supposed to be dead 3 months ago. And that's 6 months ago now. And I feel better than I've ever felt before. I don't care how skinny I am. I'm beginning to feel health come back to my body. And she won, because they had even tried to force her into the asylum, everything they could. But she won out. And she went down to a skeleton. It was one of the saddest cases I have ever seen. Just the skin over the bones. It was horrible. And she said, I did just what you told me to do. When those pains started to come, I put a pillow over my head so the neighbors couldn't hear me, because I know they could have heard me 2 blocks down the street screaming. But when that toxic condition came out of my body, she said it was just like red hot pokers. And she said, when they left, I felt so happy, and I praised the Lord. And she said, I'm healed. All right, she brought her own health up to a point where her weight came back on. Now, we've modified this, and there isn't as much weight loss so fast, and not so much pain. But the carrot juice is one of the first ones we use. And the reason for the carrot juice, it's very demulcent, it's very mild, but it's a healer. We use carrot juice, pardon me. We use carrot juice for healing wounds, for poultices. We use it in some of our sickest cases, and we always use it in a liver case. Whenever there is liver malfunction, a carrot juice is a must. And of course, that makes the person turn yellow faster, and the whites of the eyes turn yellow a lot faster. And people begin to wonder, what's the idea of giving more of that yellow stuff to make more yellow? Well, you wonder where the yellow went. After a period of time, it's gone. And it does the job. Because the yellow that comes in the skin and the whites of the eyes and the fingernails all through the body, that's a jaundice condition. That is hepatitic. And that is the liver cleaning itself up, and it's bile coming to the surface. That bile, when it's broken loose, has to come out and come out in a hurry. It's like the man that had 9 cats. He cut 9 holes in the wall. And the person said, what'd you do that for? Why'd you just cut 1 hole? They'd all go out single file. He says, when I say scat, I mean scat. Get. All right. When the poisons are broken loose, they got to get out of there. And they'll come out through the skin and through the whites of the eyes. And this is the way that it works. Well, yes.
There's a lady in the East that had cancer of the lungs. She was given about maybe 15 days, 20 days or something like that to leave. She went home and started a detoxification program with juices, but she began with salts of Epsom salts, magnesium. Is it magnesium sulfate? And she did it for 3 days, and she does it still now, 15 years later, she's still alive. But she detoxifies with magnesium sulfate. Could you comment on that, Ken?
Well, we use prune juice instead. This is a salt that is used. We used Pluto water for a while. And Pluto water is out of the picture now, because the FDA said they had to do thus, thus, and thus, or close their plant down. And they said, not to you, we'll close our plant down. So we don't get the Pluto water. They named Pluto after the city in Germany. How was it? They said it couldn't be taken, but it got taken, and it made its name. Well, Pluto water, oh yes, that was it. It was the other way around. They said nobody would be able to hold Pluto, and they couldn't. That was it. I pretty lost the punchline. But Pluto water works the same as your magnesium sulfate setup. But this is just a cleanser. We use the prune juice instead.
She said that prune juice is very high on the kidneys if you have a kidney condition.
Who said that?
That lady.
I'm sorry. Ask her if she's an herbalist.
I don't know. She's a biochemist. I don't know.
I can't help. We've had not hundreds, but we've had many thousands of cases. And the prune juice works.
But the magnesium sulfate is harmful?
We prefer not to use it because it's an inorganic. It's an inorganic, and it's going to do temporary good, but it's going to leave side effects and after effects. Here we have that liver area is what we're concerned about right now.
I have a question on the juice, starting them on the juice. Do you taper their diet off if they're used to having it?
Oh, on this program, they're living on juice. You remind me of the lady I said that she was supposed to have, this was on the 3-day cleanse, a gallon of apple juice a day. She was quite a pompous lady. And she said, oh, terrific. Do I have that before or after meals? And we had to straighten that one out. No, this is instead of the meal. Don't worry. On a gallon of apple juice or a gallon of carrot juice or a gallon of grape juice a day, you'll live. You'll live better than you've ever lived before. We have here the lady with a gallon of carrot juice. Where it was working most importantly was in the liver. Stop and think for a minute. Have you ever seen a cancer patient that doesn't have liver problems? Never. Did you ever see a liver patient that didn't have problems? Now you can figure that one out. Mild, moderate to severe. It's going to hit sooner or later. If that liver condition goes on, cancer. That liver is our most important organ. It's our largest gland in the body. It weighs 3 to 3.5 pounds for the average adult. It can become sclerosed. It can come down to the size of a golf ball if we use too much liquor, too much sugars and things. Or too many fats and starches, it can get the size of 8 or 9 pounds. If it's the size of 8 or 9 pounds, just be happy your partner is now at the price that liver's going at. They're worth more on the hoof than they were when you married them. That's being a little facetious here, but who would want that kind of liver anyhow? It doesn't sound to me like really good merchandise. Your liver is an organ here, lower right rib cage, that will draw from all the other glands in the body. It's the master gland. It is the gland that has a magnetic power that it will draw waste materials and poisons and toxins from the pituitary, the pineal, the thyroid, the reproductive organs, from the kidneys, etc., etc., etc. And it draws those poisons into the liver. And when the liver is working properly, it neutralizes those poisons and those toxins and makes them into bile. As the bile flows out, it acts as a laxative, if it's a good bile. And so here we have now the organ, the liver, that we're most concerned about at this time with the cleansing program, because we've got to get that cleaned up. The skin will be yellow with those with a jaundice condition until the liver is clean. And the liver, when it is clean, will clean up the skin, and your skin will come back to a normal color. Beautiful, normal color. So that's the area that we're working on first. So we have here a period of time on the grape juice, on the carrot juice first. The carrot juice for 2 weeks. Some people less. They cannot take it that long. All right, but some a little longer. But we prefer to go along like clockwork. With each day that we have the juice and we chew each mouthful, by chewing each mouthful we'll get more assimilation and there'll not be so much lost. But we'll take a cup, 1 cup of slippery elm gruel. Slippery elm gruel, you can get it in a powder form, and this is an extremely valuable product. It should be in everybody's home. We've seen so many miracles with it. Slippery elm is great, all right, but you cannot mix slippery elm into liquid. You have to take and put a little liquid in with the slippery elm and make it into a paste. Then thin the paste down and make it to the consistency you want. So make it so that you get a cup of slippery elm gruel each day. But that must be also chewed. Each day we take 2 nervine capsules. Now I'm speaking of an adult now, 12 years and up, average size individuals, adult dose. 8 to 12, half dose. 4 to 8 years of age, 1/4 dose. Under 4 in proportion. Each day we have a cupful of bone, flesh, and cartilage formula.
Will, excuse me, Dr. Christopher.
Yes.
Will the capsules work also?
Not as fast. This is now we're in an emergency condition now, and so we prefer, if possible, the teas. And the reason is this: the teas are in a liquid form, and they'll go directly into the bloodstream, and we don't have to wait for the capsules to melt and then mix into its own mixture.
nervine capsules. What nervine are you referring to?
9 nerve herbs.
Oh,
I can't give names legally. I don't have bracelets on today. I think you know what I mean. But we have 9 nerve herbs. Now, I speak about the motor nerve at the medulla oblongata, and it delivers the message down to the end of the tailbone, all the way down. But then sometimes these nerves are sad. The sheath's worn, they're clogged. And so we put the nerve combination in, and this will clear up all those miles of nerves, the capillaries to the nerves, etc.
Can tablets be used instead of capsules?
Yes, we have some of it in tablet form.
And that's 2 once a day? or
Yes.
once a day?
Well, this would be 2-3 times a day. We have another thing that is to be used, and that is the lower bowel capsule. Let's clean up America. Now, I say 2 of those 3 times a day, but this is suppositionary. We've had patients who have had to use from 40 to 45 capsules a day to blast loose. We have others that find that 2 capsules are too many, and they had to taper down to 1. So you got to regulate it. But this is a must, because it gets the peristaltic muscles working. It gets the bile flowing. It does so many things. Each day we'll take 2 pancreas tablets 3 times a day. Pancreas. Now, why pancreas? Anytime we have multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, any of the rest of them, polio, any of them, we have a calcium deficiency. And why do we have a calcium deficiency? Because regardless of how much calcium we take into the body, we're not assimilating it. So here, we're going to get the pancreas working. Pancreas is a gland going across the front of the body here that, if it's working properly, we will do good assimilation. If it isn't, we have low blood sugar or high blood sugar. This depends on us and how we're working. And so this is a must, that we use the pancreas capsules 3 times a day. This can be tablets or capsules. We've got our next one is the calcium. Anytime you see a polio patient, you know they're calcium deficient, but they have calcium problems. But it's inorganic calcium. We've got to give them organic calcium. We have a formula we used to use, as we talked a little bit about before, our eggshell formula. It was good, excellent. But we have a vegetable formula now that is horsetail grass, comfrey root, oat straw, lobelia.